Hi all. So today we are going to learn about market failure. So before this, in the previous session we have talked about market structure. So if you have not completed that, please watch that and then come to this video. So today we are going to see what is the cause of market failure, what is actually a market failure, and why we need government intervention to come out of that failure situation, and how the producers or the manufacturers gets affected due to this, and how the consumers get affected due to this. Okay, so we are going to see all these things and how the organization use, or what is that decision making thing based on which the organization choose which policies to go in this financial year. So like as an individual, as an employee, we took a decision this year that we need to go with the tax standards which we are doing investments, or the tax slab in which we are not doing the investment. So these two slabs are one of the examples of choosing what policy do we need to go when before taking any decision for the complete financial year. Okay, so let's get started. So what is market failure in the first place? So it's a situation where there's a specific demand which is not fulfilled by the suppliers, or there is huge amount of supplies where in the place where the demand was not there. Okay, so when the supply and the demand are not in the coordination, we call that as a market failure. Okay, yeah. Now what is the causes of market failure? So we have four causes. Let's understand it one by one. So first is externalities. So what externalities means? Suppose I am buying anything from you. Okay, so you and I are the person who are involved in the transaction. But if I am buying something from you, or you are selling something to me, if someone else is getting affected, that is called externalities. Means someone, the third part is getting affected because of the transaction between the first two person. Okay, so if this transaction is up, you will be understanding with the help of an example which we'll take in a minute. But yeah, so if you and me are doing a transaction, and if a third person is getting positively affected, that is called positive externality. And if the third person is getting negatively affected, that is negative externality. Okay, so for suppose we you and I am trying to buy a land or somewhere. Okay, and I am the third person. Okay, so after some 2 to 3 months, there was a bridge, or there is a mall nearby which is going to be constructed in a few months. So because of which the value of my land got increased. So here I can say, because of someone is selling or someone is creating a building or a mall or a bridge, I am getting positively affected. So that is called as positive externality. Okay, now the second example that I can take is when you are building a bridge. Okay, you are doing some kind of deforestation. Okay, the people who are living in that society are getting like they are losing their space, or they are losing their homes. So this transaction of building a mall or a bridge is getting negatively affected to the people who were living there previously. So that was a negative externality. Okay, so in both of them, if you see in the negative externality, if some people are losing their home, so if the government is not coming into picture and saying that because of this particular organization who is going to build a bridge over there, because of you people are losing their home, so you need to pay a penalty for them, or you need to provide them a different place. So that's how government is coming into picture and helping the people who are getting negatively affected. Okay, now even in the positively affected, I might have brought the land, but why did I brought that in the first place? There might be the situation that okay, the building is going to be built there, so if I buy land now, in future the value is going to increase. So that might be one of the reason. And if you can see the mutual funds and all, so why we are building why we are giving some part of our salary into this, because we know that we can save some amount of tax on that amount. So that is some kind of subsidies, or those sort of things which is government is providing us, so that the third parties like us is getting positively affected. Okay, so that was externalities. Next we have public goods. So public goods, I can say the railways, the street lights, the lighthouse, the security, anything that government is providing to us, and how this is leading to a market failure. So if I am using the street light in front of in my colony, and I'm not paying my taxes, it means what? That I'm utilizing some good and I'm escaping myself from paying the amount that I should pay. So these kind of things will again lead to the market failure. Again, government needs to take some action on that, so as they can so that they can fetch the amount from the consumer. Like we have now pan card to track, all the amounts that we are receiving, so they can count that what is the percentage of tax that one needs to pay. So that was one of the uh, I can say the method that government is choosing. Okay, so that's how public goods will lead to a market failure. If I'm using a public good and I'm not paying taxes, or somehow I'm not paying whatever the amount I need to be paying for that good. Okay, next is the asymmetric information. So here it is a self-explanatory thing. Okay, so asymmetric means the information is not same across or with all the people in the same niche of the market. So for suppose you and me are the competitor and you have different amount of information, I have more information from you compared to you. So it means there is some imbalance in the information that I have and you have. So based on this, because you have less information, so the decisions that you will be taking also will be affected because of the less availability of information. So if you have less available of information, what are the negative effects because of that? One is the adverse selection and one is the moral hazard. So adverse selection, here the best example is the policies and insurance. Okay, so for suppose you are working in a department where your intention is to identify the frauds. Okay, now based on your information you will say, okay, if this is something that is happening, it means this person is going to commit a fraud. If this is something is happening in future, he is going to commit a fraud. So that you are considering based on certain level of information. But as a competitor, I have much more information than you, so I will be more easily be able to identify what are the frauds happening, what are not. Okay, so this was just an example. So if you have more information, you will be a more efficient in identifying the fraud. Okay, and next is a moral hazard. So here I can say that for suppose I want to buy an insurance. Okay, and I am saying that I am all fit, I don't have any kind of wrong habits, or I don't have any kind of diseases, so the probability of getting the insurance approved is more. Okay, so there if I am having some kind of disease and I am not mentioning, then that is something which is causing which is not providing the correct information to the insurance people, and they are approving me. So here the information is getting asymmetric because of my moral hazard, because I didn't provide them with the correct information. So adverse selection and moral hazards are two negative impacts that is happening because of asymmetric information. Now the final factor is imperfect market competition. So here if you have studied the market structure, there we studied about monopoly, monopolistic competitions, oligopoly, that is all the imperfect competition. Okay, so if more the market is covered by monopoly or oligopoly, the more imperfect the market becomes, because then the power of deciding the price, the power of like moving to some other product, providing the alternate product are more priority than compared to what the people need. So because people will not have much choice if they do some changes in their product. Okay, so in that case again the government intervention will be required, so that if the monopolistic a monopoly company is increasing the price by a very high margin, or by or whatever the illegal thing that they are doing, again the government has to come into picture, so as to regularize the price or quality or the quantity. Okay, yeah, so these were the four factors which are causing the market failures. Next we are going to study about price regulations. So here we have seen that government can ban some company, or they can regulate, like, okay, this is the maximum price that you can sell, or this is the lowest this is the maximum profit that you can earn in a financial year. So we have various kind of restrictions, rules and regulations, so that overall the market remains in a stable condition. Okay, so how the price regulations are happening that by the government, that we are going to study now. So first method is price ceiling, next we have price flooring. Okay, so these are the major categories. So price ceiling, what does this mean? Let us try to understand with the help of a graph. So let's consider this graph. Okay, so this is our price and this is our quantity. Price. Okay, now this is our origin. Let's say we have 3 points. Okay, one what happened, this and this. Okay, so here is the one price, here is the other price, here is the other price. So what are these three prices? So we have something called, let's say, EP. So here EP is nothing but equilibrium price. Okay, and here I have something called P star, and here I have something called MB. So what does these three parameters mean? So in any graph P star is nothing but the government price. Okay, it is not it is not a price at which government is buying or selling, but it is a price that government is setting which will prevail in the market when there is a buying or selling happening between the consumers and the shopkeepers. Okay, so this is the price. Now we are talking about price ceiling. Okay, so price ceiling means here the government will set maximum price, that is maximum price that a shopkeeper can use to sell. Okay, so what happening here is equilibrium price is the price at which both producer and consumer are fine. Okay, this is the price at which both producer and consumer agree to have the transaction, and this is the maximum amount that consumer is willing to pay. Okay, in worst case this amount is what consumer is willing to pay, but government is saying that the maximum price at which you can sell the product is this. So what's happening here, let's take an example. I want to buy 2 Parle-G at 5 rupees each, so my total cost will be 5 into 10, 5 into 2 is equal to 10 rupees. Now this is my maximum price that I can pay for 1 Parle-G. So now government decided that instead of 5 rupees it should be 1 rupee. Okay, so what's happening is here I will either buy 1 into 2, that is 2 rupees, 2 Parle-G. Okay, or I will buy 10 packets of Parle-G because I have 10 rupees. So here what is the loss that is happening here? Because the cost is decreased from here, that is the maximum amount that is a consumer is willing to pay, from there to here. Because the price of the good is reduced, of course the demand will increase, correct? So now what I can say is supply is much more greater than what is the demand. Sorry, because the price is less, people will buy more, so demand is more than the supply. Okay, so here because the producer is losing his I can say price, so here we will see a concept in a minute which is known as weight dead. Okay, so we'll look into this concept in a moment. Once we will see what is price floor, then we'll see what is weight dead. Okay, so this is something which I can say brings in a relation the price ceiling, the impact of price ceiling and the price flooring. Okay, now let's move on to the price flooring thing. So I hope price ceiling is clear. Okay, because here the price is reduced, that is the reduced price is kept at the maximum price which can be used to sell or buy a product. Because of the reduced price, consumer is buying more in quantity. So here what's happening is the shopkeeper or the sellers are getting into loss. Okay, now let's go to the create new slide. Okay, yeah, so now we are going to talk about price flooring. So this is the second method in which the government can regulate the price. Okay, price flooring. We are going to use the same graph. Okay, what was this? This was my price. Okay, and this is my quantity. So here the price flooring is the minimum price at which the product can be sold or bought. Okay, so here what happening is we have seen what is the government price, P star, right? So we are going to use the same notation. So P star, what happened? Yeah, so this is the P star and this is the equilibrium price, and this is the price at which the consumer wants to buy it. Okay, but somehow they agree on buying on this equilibrium price, but because government has told that you cannot sell or buy an item less than this price, so the minimum price that one needs to pay is this price. So because the price is increased, what will happen is the demand will reduce drastically. So because demand is reduced but the product is out there, so I can say supply is very much high than compared to demand. I hope this makes sense. So in previously we have seen that demand was very much high than compared to supply. Here supply is more than compared to demand. So here it's not like supply increased or supply decreased. Here the impact is the demand is decreased because the price is increased. I hope I am making sense. Okay, yeah. Now we are going to use the same graph to understand the producer surplus and the consumer surplus within a moment. But yeah, so if you can see this price, see here you can see the demand is more and supply is less. So the way the way to tackle this situation is these 5 ways. Okay, so either and I can give whoever will come first, I'll be serving them, or I can have a lottery, or based on some factors I can select, okay, only to these customers I am going to sell. Okay, now again there will be, okay, only to this community it should be sold. So there are these methods with the help of which I can decide whom to sell, because the demand is anyway so much high and price is less, so that's why supply is less. So I need to filter out my audience and then I need to distribute. So that was price ceiling and price floor. Now regulations and market structures. So here we are going to see three methods: regulation price using rate of return, merger policy, price regulation using RPI. RPI is nothing but retail price index. So what is this? Okay, so it's like in general, if we see, right, even now at this point of time, if you can see, market is never ideal, but it will be deviating from the ideal situation. But that deviation is not called as a market failure until that significantly affects the society. Okay, but when there is a significant deviation from the ideal market situation, or I can say when there is a significant deviation, it is nothing but a market failure. So in that case, with these methods, okay, with these methods, government can come into picture and handle the situation. Now we are going to see what is these three methods. Okay, so if you see in general, if suppose there is a raw material on which multiple industries are dependent on, so in this case the supplier of the raw materials, okay, he will be charging some cost, of course. Okay, now the rate at which he can increase the charges, or the rate at which he can increase the price, that can be, I can say, regulated by the government based on the method called RPI minus X, where RPI is my retail price index. Retail price index is nothing but my inflation rate, and X is nothing but my mortgage interest payment, or I can say the significant amount of profits or savings that the organization is getting because of maybe technological upgrade, or maybe by doing some innovations or bringing some changes in their process which is increasing their efficiency. Okay, so after subtracting this inflation rate minus the significant savings or profits that the organization is getting, suppose this is 100, no 100, that is percentage, right? Suppose this is a 7% and mortgage interest is 4%. Okay, so 7 minus 4, 3% is the allowed scale at which the organization is allowed by the government to increase the price. Okay, next we have merger policy. So the main reason for the merger happening between any two organization is to have the positive effect of the economics of scale. So if you have seen the previous video where we have talked what is economics of scale. So economics of scale means that producing more number of units or more number of outputs, so that the average cost of each product is reduced. So in that way the revenue earned by the organization, or the profit earned by the organization, is more. Okay, but this mergers between the organization is leading to more and more monopoly. Again, if this happens continuously, the power of deciding the price of the product will be increased by that monopoly organization. So in this case, the government, in the form of Competitive Commission of India, right, it regulates, okay, if this needs to be merged, what is the rules and guidelines it needs to follow. It makes sure that it is following all the rules and regulations with the proper documentation, proper reasoning, all the validations. Okay, so this is this, all the mergers and other things will be taken care by the Competition Commission of India, and with the help of SEBI. It makes sure that what I can say, it monitors all the process that is happening during the merger, so that any kind of illegal things what I can say, manipulating the price, and which could lead to the market failure, all those things can be avoided due to the merger if this and the SEBI is doing a continuous monitor. Okay, next we have regulation price using the rate of return method. So here what we can say is the price of a product is, suppose, okay, decided, and then in the financial year the organization is selling and getting the profit, earning the revenue, everything is well and good, fine, okay, all is good. Now if the firm size is very less and the profit that it earns is very high, okay, so in that case the government makes sure that it enforces more taxes, so that the amount of effort or the size of the organization and the profits that it is getting or the revenue that it is getting is been coordinated. So here basically government monitors what is the firm size and the earning that a organization is having. Okay, so here the profit earned and the size of the organization is the two parameters based on which government sees, okay, whether it is fine or should the penalty be charged or should the tax be enforced on that organization. Okay, so based on this regular pricing method, the government is getting back the money. Okay, so these were the three basic methods of regulation by the government. Okay, next we have price regulation and the firm behavior. So what we are going to see here is when the government is doing price ceiling, how the firm is affected. When the government is doing price flooring, price floor, how the government is affected. Okay, right. So first point is price ceiling and the firm efficiency. A price cap regulation is used to set maximum allowed price. So if we have seen in the price ceiling, this is price ceiling, right? So here we have seen P star, that is the maximum price at which the product can be sold is set by the government. Okay, so here the maximum allowed price for a specific product is set. Okay, now the firm is given two options, that is two policies. So the firm may either operate under a regulatory system that limits a profit. Okay, so in this policy what happens is the government gives you the freedom of choosing whatever I can say whatever price you want to decide. Okay, you can go with that, but overall the profit that you will be getting is restricted. Okay, this is the amount that is the maximum profit that you can get in this financial year. Okay, so that method is like a regulatory system, and the other matter is price cap regulation. So here the government decides the price of the product and there will be no restriction on the profit. Okay, so there are two methods. So first method in which the price of the product is decided by the government, and the second method in which the profit is restricted by the government. So you can choose either of the method, but overall no one is playing a double game. It's like you choose either of the method, but overall the profit, the revenue that you are going to get is same, because the basic intention behind allowing the organization to choose either of the method is to have the market stability. So in one policy government is keeping in one of the parameter as restriction, in the other policy the government is keeping other parameter as the restriction. Okay, so these were the two policies. So the first policy was the regulatory system and the second policy was the price cap regulation. So these two were under price ceiling and firm efficiency. So if we take an example, then also if we take the numerical, somehow the relative difference between the profits earned in the first method or the second method will be nearly same. Okay, next we have price floor and the firm efficiency. So here as we have seen, see the minimum price at which the transaction is allowed in the market is known as a price flooring. This is the minimum price, P star. Okay, so it encourages firm to, okay, so here what is happening is basically the government, for suppose you are the organization and I am the government. Okay, and every year the output that you produce is 100 units, but this time what I am saying is, okay, this is the price flooring and I want you to what I can say, I want you to produce 200 units. So you are basically in profit, because the price floor is nothing but it is above the equilibrium price. So if you produce more units, that is you produce 200 units instead of 100 units, the price you are getting is more. So what is the loss here? Okay, so here you are producing more output and you have this guarantee that government will buy from you. So what is the loss in that? So here the loss is, if you have seen the law of diminishing returns, if you produce more than the optimal quantity that an organization produces, basically the marginal cost will be more than the marginal revenue. So if you produce more quantity than the optimum quantity that is allowed by the organization, the marginal, you are going to make loss on every new unit that you produce after the optimum quality. So if you have seen this graph, where let me show you. Okay, if you see this graph, initially the marginal cost is decreasing. After reaching this if you can see this U curve, after reaching this minimum quantity that organization is allowed, if you are, let's say this is our 100 units, after this also if you are producing as per the government's rules, that is you need to produce 200 units, so here your average cost is increasing, correct? So that's how the company is again suffering here. Okay, so that is that is how the firm's efficiency is affected because of the price floor. I hope these 2 points are very clear, because these 2 points again we are going to consider in the consumer surplus and producer surplus. So what is happening in the consumer surplus? Okay, so consumer surplus is, I have taken an example of Parle-G, that I want to buy a Parle-G at 5 rupees. That is my maximum amount I am willing to pay. But I paid only 1 rupee for the Parle-G because of the price ceiling. So here I saved 4 rupees. So that 4 rupees will be my consumer surplus. Okay. So consumer has to pay more for the same quantity, hence buys less. No, 1 second. Yeah. So we know what is consumer surplus, right? I am willing to pay 5 rupees, but I paid only 1 rupee. So 4 rupees that I saved was my consumer surplus. But in the price floor, what is happening? The minimum price is increased. Okay, so the minimum price is increased. Now Parle-G price is 6 rupees, or let's say 10 rupees. So Parle-G price is 10 rupees, and I wanted to buy 2 quantity. So instead of buying 2 quantity, how much am I buying? I am buying only 1 quantity, or I can say 1 packet of Parle-G. So consumer has to pay 10 rupees for same. Okay, so if I want to buy 1 packet, initially I was to pay 5 rupees. Now I have to buy 10. I have to pay 10 rupees for the same 1 packet. So I have to pay for the same quantity, and hence I will buy less. Okay, so this leads to loss of consumer surplus, because if you can see, 5 rupees was the willingness that I wanted to pay, and I paid was 10 rupees. So my consumer surplus is going in negative, that is -5. So loss of consumer surplus. Similarly, if you see what is so first line is about understanding what is producer surplus, and next we will see how the producer surplus is getting affected because of price ceiling. Okay, so price surplus. So here I can say this is more than equilibrium price, that is if you can see. Okay, let's understand this. So price at which a producer is willing to sell minus the equilibrium price. So if you can see here in price ceiling, okay, we can understand it directly, not a difficult statement. Say suppose 10 rupees at which the producer is willing to sell it. Okay, now the equilibrium price is 5 rupees. So equilibrium price, I hope you know, that is the agreement at which the producer and seller, after bargaining, finally agree on to buying or selling, that is completing the transaction. So here suppose 10 rupees is the amount at which the producer wants to sell, and 5 rupees is the equilibrium price. So here what happening, producer surplus is 5 rupees. Okay, now I take the same example in terms of quantity, again it will remain same. Okay, so here 10 rupees minus 5, so 5 rupees was the producer surplus. Now in price ceiling, what is happening, because the price is less, and hence producer is willing to sell less quantity. Okay, so here I am waiting that, okay, after some time at least the price ceiling, that is the maximum price that is set by the government, will increase more, so that it will be reaching the equilibrium price. If you are not getting, let's see this example. So in price ceiling, P star is below the equilibrium price because the price is less. As a producer, I don't want to sell my stock because I am making loss on each sell that I am having. So I'll wait for the P star or the price ceiling to increase and to reach at least till equilibrium price. Okay, so because of this reason, that the price is low of each unit that I am selling, so I will not be interested in selling my complete stock. So because the price is less, as a producer I am not willing to sell, so I am selling less quantity. So this is called as loss of producer surplus. So this loss of consumer surplus and loss of producer surplus together is what we known as, okay, that will lead to a dead weight, which is nothing but a okay, that this relation is known as Harbanger's triangle. Okay, so overall here the producer's efficiency is affected, here the consumer's efficiency is affected. So overall we call that as a lost efficiency in form of Harbanger's triangle. So this is due to the government intervention by increasing taxes on goods. So by this statement, if you can see, where did we studied about increasing taxes on goods? So this is nothing but price ceiling and price flooring. I hope that makes sense, and if you have any queries with respect to the market failures and all the topics that we have discussed so far, please write down the comment section, and if you have any suggestion, please mention that as well. Finally, if you liked my explanation, please do subscribe, click on notification bell and share it to as many people as you can. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you.